Hey there clan, and welcome to a Dragon Age speculation video. In this speculation video, and more theory crafting than anything, I'm going to be talking about one particular aspect of the ending of Dragon Age Inquisition that I think is rather important. Now firstly, of course, I will state right now that there will be spoilers for Dragon Age Inquisition, a few other Dragon Age things, but more importantly, well, a couple of spoilers for Dragon Age The Last Flight. So I would recommend, if you want to avoid spoilers for the game and this book, click off this video now, because I'm going to dive in deep. So without further ado, let's dive into this, shall we? Men and women from every race, warriors, mages, barbarians and kings. The Grey Wardens hold a lonely vigil, enduring lives of hardship and sacrifice to protect the world from an evil that can never truly be conquered. Few would volunteer for this. Suffering, isolation, and the promise of a violent death. But the path of a warden is also one of valour, and those who give themselves to the cause are rewarded with the knowledge that they have become something more than they were. Now, when it comes to the choice I'm talking about is, of course, the Grey Warden choice, what you do with them, of course. Now, what I do with the Grey Wardens is I always allow them to stay, because we still needed the Grey Wardens to defeat Corypheus and the Darkspawn, of course. I still believe the Grey Wardens serve a purpose in the world of Dragon Age and the world of Theris. There is no if, buts, or whats, or doubts about that. But especially with what happens at the end of Inquisition, if you choose to allow the Wardens to stay, is very interesting, and also very concerning. And that is, they say that the Wardens help out instead of doing what they are told they should do, which is always be vigilant of the Blight. They take the Blackwall approach. Of course, I'm talking about Warden Blackwall, or Tom Rainier in Dragon Age Inquisition, is that he is the idealised version of the Grey Wardens, who believes that they should help everyone even when there isn't a Blight, but should always destroy the Darkspawn, of course. And as they start helping out, they start growing, and in a way become a bit more independent from the other Grey Warden factions around Theris, especially the ones in Weishold and the Neanderthals, where the Wardens were founded, and of course where the Warden leadership is. Now, by Warden leadership, I'm mostly talking about, of course, the leader of the Wardens, the first Warden. I actually have a little bit of a theory of myself what's going to happen a little bit later. I'll talk about that in the video, but why I primarily talk about what this could lead to, of course, with the Wardens in Orlais, with the Inquisition becoming a bit more independent and actually doing something that probably a lot of Wardens would not agree is the right thing to do, and that's, of course, helping out the local area. This could be concerning because, as I say, there is much different opinion among the Wardens on what they should do as there is among the people of what they should do. A lot of Wardens do believe that the Wardens should just concentrate on taking care of the Darkspawn. They should always kill the Darkspawn that come across the surface, and if there's a Blight, they kill it. But there are some Wardens who believe that they should maybe do a lot more than that. They should help out other people, go to local areas, fight off bandits, and do a lot more than just fight off the Darkspawn. And then there are others who believe the Wardens should have more power than they should. More so in the Neanderthals, which I'll get to in a moment. But that is concerning. But I like the idea of the Wardens helping out everyone. Now, my idealised Wardens, of course, are ones who help out the people. They recruit the Wardens. They show that the Wardens are more than just an asset for every occasion when it comes to the Darkspawn and taking care of a Blight. I believe the Wardens should show that they can be useful, and they show that being a Warden is a noble profession, even if you do get a short lifespan, as the words stated at the start. But that's something I think has to be taken into consideration. So I think that that's what the Wardens should be. But again, that's different opinions. Now, of course, as I say, this is not something that would start a war, of course, between the Wardens, because it would be differing opinions. The Warden Commanders are more so the leaders of those particular areas, as the Warden Commander of Ferelden, and Warden Commander of Orlais, Warden Commander of Tevinter, of the First Warden, and the Warden Commander of Anderfels, and so on and so forth, the Warden Commander of Ravania. That is something to take into consideration, of course, as well. As I say, as each Warden Commander is sort of like the head of that particular area. But they all take their orders from the First Warden, more so in the past though, especially after the loss of the Griffins. Which this seems like a proper time to say that that was then, until after the events of this book. Now, spoiler of course for the book, this book basically at the end of it, the Griffins return. Due to the efforts of a particular warden from the past, Ysera, the sister of Gahandriel, I believe his name was. I'm not 100% certain. I don't think it says his name in the back. I know who stored away the last remaining, basically, Griffin eggs, due to the fact that at the time of the Fourth Blight, the wardens were desperate. And what they did was basically put the Griffins through the joining, which it hasn't been unheard of that the wardens put animals through the joining. There have been Mabari wardens. So the Griffins were put through the joining, but they had a bad reaction to it afterwards. After they defeated, of course, the Archdemon, the Griffins started to become sickly, and definitely their ghoulification definitely advanced a lot further. But it didn't just stick with the ones that were done the joining. It became an infection for them, and eventually they all died. And of course, Griffin eggs became stillborn. But due to the effects of Ysera, it's Issea. Due to the efforts of Ysera, who, even sacrificing herself, not going through her calling, she was pretty much far gone with the ghoulification. She hid away the last remaining Griffin eggs that were not infected. And after the efforts of what's her name again? Valia, who found her journal, found the Griffin eggs, and they hatched. With the return of the Griffins, this is going to cause a bit of a big impact in the Grey Wardens, especially, as also the world of Thedas, because there aren't a lot of them. I can't remember the exact number, but I believe it's maybe just under a dozen, or maybe even a dozen. It isn't a lot, but it is enough to possibly repopulate the Griffins, which is going to be a priority for the Wardens. But with so few Griffins now around, there'll be a prioritization of them. What areas get the Griffins more? I can definitely see the First Warden stating that the Anderfels needs them more than anyone, due to the fact that the Anderfels is constantly under attack from Darkspawn, very much like the Dwarfs. But that could also be quite concerning. I'm going to read a little something from the world of Thedas. The First Warden has traditionally acted as the Anders King's advisor. In recent years, however, the leader of the Wardens has been more of an outspoken critic of the status quo and the monarchy as a whole. Some speculate that the First Warden has eyes on the throne. Just think what the return of the Griffins could mean for the First Warden, who has his eyes on the throne of the Anderfels. Now, of course, this is not the First Warden to be king. Of course, we have King Alistair. But Alistair is more of the king of Ferelden than he is a Grey Warden now. At least my Alistair is. He's still a Grey Warden at heart, and of course with the Blight, of course. But he is a king. The First Warden, if they were to get Griffins, I have no doubt that this particular First Warden, the one who's very got his eyes on the throne, especially for being so outspoken, would take the Anderfels. And having the Warden ruling a nation, a Warden that we don't know, and is also very politically minded, and by the sound of it, very outspoken about royalty, could be very, very bad. Now, there are a lot of ones who disagree with the First Warden's idea. It is actually stated in the World of Faces that quite a few disagree with the idea of him taking over a throne, basically. But there would be those who would follow him, because there have been Wardens who wanted more power. There was a warden like Sophia Dryden, even though she didn't want to take Ferelden, she just wanted to overthrow a tyrannical king. But one person's tyranny is another person's glory. That's how you have to see it sometimes. So if the Anderfels did become under Warden rule, I see quite a few Wardens flocking to that. And also due to the fact that the Anderfels is also constantly under threat from the Darkspawn, I see a lot of people actually agreeing with it, especially those who live in the Anderspell who are constantly under threat from the Darkspawn. There would be people who would be outspoken about it, but I'm sure they would be silenced quickly, especially with this current First Warden, who we've never met and has never been in the games. Now this would definitely cause a rift between a lot of Wardens, and that's why I believe would be the spark. The spark is the Griffins, the fire would be them taking the Anderfels as ruling the Grey Wardens, would start the civil war between the Wardens, which would divide not only the Wardens but possibly nations as well. There would be Wardens who would agree that the Wardens need to have more power and they have to be ready always. There are also Wardens who believe that they're very much like Blackwall and the ones in Orlais who believe that they should be watchers, guardians, protectors of the innocent and also fighters of darkspawn and killers of archdemons. And this would probably be the civil war that would probably split them all. And of course, there would be nations that would get involved. Ferelden would get involved in some way, I know that for a fact. Alistair would not sit back without taking a fight. Orlais might fight, Terventer probably wouldn't. The Anderfels would be under the Warden's control. Ravania, Thedas, the Rhaenia, Parvalan. This could start a whole war, not just between the Wardens, but it would be the focus. So I do predict that in Dragon Age Inquisition, then the next Dragon Age Inquisition, next Dragon Age game or Dragon Age Inquisition DLC, we will, if it was the DLC, I believe we would see the start of the Warden Civil War. But I think something like this, something massive, like a Warden Civil War would be its own game entirely. And you would be focused on the Grey Wardens and possibly would be one yourself. This would be the possibility of the return of our Warden. And this is where we have to choose sides. Are we with the first Warden, the one who's in charge, or with the one who believes that Wardens should have more power and that the Wardens should always be vigilant, always be ready? Or should be who should only fight against the Darkspawn, who should only focus on that? Or would we be with the other Wardens who believe that we should protect the people, the Blackwall Wardens? That's something to take into consideration. But of course you have to ask, who would be the leader of the other faction? In my opinion, there are only 4 candidates. 4. Stroud, if he survived, which in many didn't. Alistair, if he was just a Warden, or he was king. Our Warden would probably be one ready to lead. Or if he's still alive and you made him a Warden, Tairn Loghain, or Loghain. Those are the 4 people who would probably lead that faction. Maybe Blackwall. So that's something to take into consideration. That's something that I do believe will have an impact, and I believe is going to be one of the biggest impacts on the Dragon Age world of Thedas that will be there, is the Warden Civil War that will split the Wardens. And it's no doubt, especially with what they've been through with the Calling, with the old Corypheus incident, that there will be a Warden Civil War, and there is tension between them. That's an interesting theory, at least. So what do you think? Do you think that there will be a Warden Civil War? Who would lead the one? Who would lead the faction of Wardens who you would support? Of course, that would be an interesting incident to see who would lead. And also, I do believe the Anderfels will be the place we will see next. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will end with the Warden Oath. Join us, brothers and sisters. Join us in the shadows where we stand vigilant. Join us as we carry out the duty that cannot be forsworn. And should you perish, know that your sacrifice will not be forgotten, and that one day we shall join you. In war, victory. In peace, vigilance. In death, sacrifice. For the Grey Wardens.